Be Wealthy and Smart, episode 1618.
Step into a world of wealth and financial freedom without budgets, boredom, or bosses on Be Wealthy and Smart. And now, here's your host, Linda P. Jones.
Welcome to Be Wealthy and Smart. I'm Linda P. Jones, America's Wealth Mentor, empowering women and men worldwide to financial freedom. On today's show, we're going to talk about Kevin Warsh, picked to lead the Federal Reserve. According to Yahoo Finance, President Trump announced that he's chosen former Fed Governor Kevin Warsh as his pick to lead the Federal Reserve. If formally nominated and confirmed by the Senate, Warsh would replace current Fed Chair Jerome Powell when his term ends in May. Who is Kevin Warsh? He's 55, from Albany, New York, and received a degree in public policy with a focus on economics and statistics from Stanford in 1992. In 1995, Warsh worked in mergers and acquisitions at Morgan Stanley and earned a law degree from Harvard. Beginning in 2002, he served as a special assistant to President George W. Bush for economic policy and as an economic secretary at the National Economic Council, where he advised the president and senior administration officials on the U.S. economy. Notably, Warsh has experience navigating the central bank. Bush appointed him to serve as Fed governor from 2006 until 2011. During his tenure at the central bank, he became former Fed Chair Ben Bernanke's liaison to Wall Street during the chaos of the 2008 financial crisis. Warsh is seen as the conventional choice for the role. Like all the candidates Trump was considering, Warsh is expected to push for lower interest rates. He has been critical of the Fed, which held interest rates steady in a range of 3.5% to 3.75% on Wednesday at the conclusion of its first meeting of the year. The decision to hold rates was not unanimous, and two Federal Open Market Committee officials dissented. Federal Reserve Governor Stephen Miron and Chris Waller voted to cut interest rates by 25 basis points, or 0.25%. At the press conference on Wednesday, Fed Chair Powell struck a more optimistic tone about the U.S. economy, noting that it expanded at a solid pace last year and is coming into 2026 on a firm footing. Markets expect the Fed to resume interest rate cuts after Powell leaves his post as Fed chair. For his part, Powell reiterated that the Fed is well positioned to go meeting by meeting to determine the policy path following 3 interest rate cuts in the final meetings of 2025. At the December meeting, officials projected just 1 interest rate cut in 2026. During the press conference, Powell also fielded questions about Fed independence, but declined to expand on his January 11th statement related to the Department of Justice probe into the Fed. He did, however, state that the Supreme Court case over the firing of Fed Governor Lisa Cook was perhaps the most important legal case in the Fed's 113-year history. Waller said that he views monetary policy as still restricting economic activity and said that economic data make it clear to me further easing is needed. Waller's issue with holding rates steady largely came from concerns about the labor market. He said Friday that the labor market remains weak, citing the rise in the unemployment rate and slowing job growth. He also noted that he expects last year's data to be revised downward to show virtually no growth in employment in 2025. Warsh faces an uncertain path to the Fed chair role after North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis, a Republican, reiterated his stance that he will not vote for the next Fed chair until the Justice Department resolves its investigation into Fed Chair Powell. Tillis's vote is needed to advance Warsh through the Senate Banking Committee. The senator, who is not seeking re-election, previously stated that he would oppose any Fed chair nominee until the DOJ probe was completed, citing concerns that the investigation was a result of political interference into the Fed's policymaking. Stephen Brown, deputy chief North America economist at Capital Economics, wrote in a note, on Friday, President Trump's apparent pick of Kevin Warsh for the next Fed chair would arguably be one of the better outcomes for investors compared to the other contenders that had been in the running. Warsh's long-running hawkish views should help to counteract concerns that he might morph into a full-blown Trump stooge. That said, his firm conviction that both AI and the Trump administration's regulatory push will help to hold down inflation, as well as his long-standing view that the Fed should operate with a much smaller balance sheet, present the risk of some upward pressure on long-term bond yields. For now, the big picture is that Warsh seems like a relatively safe choice. Wells Fargo economists wrote, "We know from our many client discussions that there appears to be at least some degree of comfort with a Warsh-led Fed versus the other choices. But we all should be mindful that there is also some degree of uncertainty associated with this pick, if for no other reason than his public remarks on the economic outlook and the appropriate path for the federal funds rate have been fewer and farther between than the other finalists." The president wrote, "I have known Kevin for a long period of time and have no doubt that he will go down as one of the great Fed chairmen, maybe the best. On top of everything else, he is central casting, and he will never let you down," Trump said in his announcement, which he posted to Truth Social. Trump actually interviewed him for the Fed chair post 8 years ago before selecting Powell, and added, "With the help of the Fed, we could hit numbers that have never been hit before." So there you have it. The question remains, is Trump going to be able to get Warsh in before Powell's term is up in May, or is this just an early announcement that will require us to wait 4 more months? We'll continue to report back to you as the situation unfolds. If you haven't yet subscribed to Be Wealthy and Smart, hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified as soon as new podcasts are available. And all of my podcasts are on my website at lindapjones.com/podcasts. And while you're there, sign up for my weekly newsletter for more wealth tips for your financial freedom. That's all for today. Until next time, live the good life and be wealthy and smart.
Thank you for listening to Be Wealthy and Smart with Linda P. Jones. Share the wealth and tell your family and friends about the show. Check out our website, blog, and social media for more riches at www.bewealthyandsmart.com.